Let me say this, that if you cannot run a business without money, you certainly cannot run a business with money.
People steal ideas, that's okay, but any idea somebody steals, the person will not do it the same way you have thought of it.
Okay.
Are you getting my point?
We need to have a matured brain and well-being to be able to separate things that are of sensitivity from those ones that can be used as a joke or a play.
Hi, you're welcome to the PV show Moments of Truth right here on YouTube this and every Sunday.
Yeah. If your husband shares a very nice joke and you don't laugh, Aden, sister Aden.
Hello, you're welcome to the PV show's Moments of Truth. So on this week's episode, we are bringing your way how to become successful in your earthly assignments. And we are privileged to be with Dr. Martin, and he's going to help us tackle this particular topic on this segment. Pastor, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you give us a little introduction about yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. So, my name is Dr. Martin Colville Yamborja, as you have rightly said.
Okay.
I'm a public servant. I work with the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Okay.
And then I'm a chartered accountant by profession, a chartered tax practitioner. And also I have my PhD or doctorate in business administration.
Wow.
And as you know already, I'm a pastor in the Deeper Christian Life Ministry.
Okay.
I'm the regional campus coordinator for Medina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the PV show.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll go straight to the topic for discussion today. We are taking a look at how to become successful in your assignment on earth. But first of all, when we talk about assignment on earth, what does it really mean?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, talking about an assignment on earth, it means one's calling. And I believe that nobody was born or created by mistake.
Okay.
God created every one of us for a purpose. So once you are born into the world, there is a reason why God has brought you into the world. And therefore, you have an assignment or something that God has called you to do before you finally take leave from here back to heaven.
Okay. Okay. All right. But then, do we all have an assignment? Do everyone have an assignment, or some group of people are on their own? You don't have anything to do on it?
I believe everybody has an assignment.
Okay.
As long as you've been created by God and then you've been born into this earth, you have an assignment. Except that we are given different assignment.
Okay.
But whatever that it is, everybody at least have an assignment that God purpose for you to do before you die.
Okay. Okay. If you wouldn't mind sharing some examples, maybe someone is out there, he or she doesn't even know that what he or she is doing is even an assignment. Could we have some examples?
Okay, thank you. Yes, so when we talk about an assignment, we can liken it to a calling.
Okay.
That you have been called to do. And like I've said, we have different assignments. Somebody assignment could be leadership, that you've been called to lead. So if we take the case of Moses, the children of Israel were in bondage, and then God needed somebody to lead them out of Egypt into the promised land. Yeah. So Moses was called for that purpose. That was an assignment. He did his part, and then when it was time for him to go, he handed over to Joshua, who eventually led them to the promised land.
Okay.
David had an assignment. He needed to be there at that time to face Goliath in order to deliver the children of Israel out of that bondage that they were in. So we can also say that is an answer. So everybody at one point or the time is called into this world for a purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You made mention that we are all called on this earth for a purpose, but how do you identify that particular assignment you've been given?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so for you to identify your assignment, it could come in various forms. Like in some cases, it was God who called them.
Okay.
So either they heard the voice of God audibly or they had a particular leading. Sometimes God could also be giving somebody an assignment through a leader. A leader can identify you for a purpose and so we want you to do A, B, C, D. Then also, you in person can also identify your assignment or your calling when you have a passion for something.
Okay.
You will all of a sudden realize that, no, I have passion for this. And you are ready to go any length to make sure that it is done. That can be a calling. Sometimes it can be people telling you you are good at this, and then if you do A, B, C, D, you think that it could help. That can also be a way of calling. So there are various means by which one can identify your calling.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. We have some questions here sent by one of our audience. He said, after identifying your assignment, is research important? Learning about the assignments and connecting with people in that area, is it important?
It is very, very important.
Okay.
Very, very important in the sense that when you are given an assignment, first and foremost, you need to understand that you probably might not be the first person to have been given that. Other people have gone that way before. And for you to be able to really do it very well, you need to learn from people. So you need to do a research to find out, are there people who were called into the same assignment that you have been given? How did they go about it? By that, you'll be able to learn from their mistakes, things that they didn't do well that you need to avoid. You'll be able to learn from their success. You also get to know more about what exactly you have been given to enable you pursue it to the fullest. So research is very important. And when we talk about research, we are not necessarily talking about the normal academic where you have to go into, but at least trying to know about it, asking people questions, trying to find, so what this thing that I've been given, how do I go about it? So it is very important that you research into whatever assignment that you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But is it a must for us to be very successful in the assignments we are given? Someone may say, I'm not going to give an account to anybody. So I don't even care whether I become successful or not. Is it important?
I would say that it is.
Okay.
Because every one of us here, at the end of the day, is going to give an account to God of whatever that we've been brought into this world to do.
Okay.
So if God brought you to do something and you are not able to do it well, you'll not be able to give a good account of it. Not that every human being wants to live a fulfilled life. And once you know that this is an assignment that has been given to me, and you can confidently say that, oh, I have successfully done it, it brings some kind of joy and happiness to you. So if you are not able to succeed in whatever assignment that you have been given, I don't think that you can call yourself a fulfilled person or a successful person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We have another question here. We have people living their lives not knowing that they even have an assignment. What happens to these people? How will they give an account? And is God going to even question them because they have no idea that they even had an assignment?
Yeah. It is rather unfortunate that there are some people who do not know that they have an assignment, or they not think that they have an assignment, and therefore decide to live their life anyhow. But one thing we should know is that if God have given us life and had brought you into this world, there is definitely something that you need to do. And if you fail to do it, one day, you'll be made to account for it. Because you can't tell God that when you came to this world, you didn't find anything to do, and therefore you couldn't do it. maybe as a Christian, I can say that every one of us have been given an assignment. If we look at the book of Matthew, chapter 28, and Mark 16, Jesus Christ said, "Go you into all the world and preach the gospel." I mean, that is an assignment that was given to every believer, that we are supposed to go out and preach. We may have people who are evangelists who can preach better, but at least the average Christian is expected to go out and witness, and that is an assignment. So you can't say that, "Oh, when I came, I didn't see anybody to preach to, and therefore I couldn't even win a soul." So at least everybody has been given an assignment, and it is good you identify what assignment that you've been given and work on it.
Okay, all right. If you are now joining us, you are still watching the PV show Moment of Truth, and on this week's episode we are taking a look at how to become successful in your assignments on earth. So another question sent by one of our audience says that can spiritual weakness distract you from your assignment on earth? Let's take a look at those who are into ministry or the other. Yeah.
It's very, very true that spiritual weakness can detract you from the assignment that you have been given.
Okay.
And I'll give you a very good example in the Bible. Samson.
Okay.
Samson was brought into the world, or was given birth as one of the deliverers of Israel. He had an assignment to deliver Israel, but because of his spiritual weakness in terms of immorality, he fell into the hands of Delilah. Eventually, the source of his power was disclosed to the woman, and the woman told it to the enemies. His eyes were taken off. I mean, he died shortly, or he died prematurely. And I believe that he had been mindful of that assignment that he was given, and have really kept himself pure. He could have avoided that tragedy of losing his sight and probably cutting short his ministry. So, I mean, it is very important that the spiritual, you need to connect your spiritual, because we are spiritual beings. If your relationship with God is sound, it gives you a very clear direction in terms of the earthly ministry that God has given to you. And I think that we can't divorce the spiritual, soundness with your earthly assignment. Okay.
That's really deep. But I wanted to find out, this just came in, let me chip it in. Is it possible to have more than one assignment on earth?
It is. It is possible to have more than one assignment, because the Bible says God gives severally to different people.
Okay.
Yes, one could be given more than one assignment, except that one could be predominant than the other, and depending on how you have also developed them.
Okay.
There are some people that God have given more than one assignment, depending on where you find yourself. And sometimes to enable you accomplish one assignment, you need to be good in one assignment.
Okay.
Yes. For example, let's say as a pastor, your assignment is to take care of the people and make sure that they go to heaven. But that will also require you having a very good relationship with them and making sure that you take good care of them. So if you say that you are a pastor and your objective is to make sure that people go to heaven, and yet you don't really care for the physical needs of the people, then you realize that you can also, God can give you more than one assignment. And what I believe is that if God gives you more than one assignment, He equally gives you enough or sufficient grace to be able to carry out those assignments at the same time.
Okay. But is it possible that you may fail in one? And if you happen to fail in one, or if you are, sometimes when you are focusing on three things at the same time, your attention may be drifted. Sometimes you may pay attention to one more than the other. When your attention is getting drifted a little bit, how do you identify it and come back on track?
Okay. Yeah. So in the process of fulfilling your assignment, in fact, not only the assignment, but in life, to be successful in anything, you need to give your full attention.
Okay.
So sometimes, maybe because you are given different assignments, you may want to concentrate on one at the expense of the other, and then you end up failing in that. So you need to really know what exactly have I been called to do. and then you make sure that you allocate equal time or equal resources.
Okay.
Other than that, you end up focusing on one. And even if care is not taken, you may end up focusing on one that is less important than the major.
Yeah.
And then you could have done better than what you did.
Okay.
But because you focus on one that is less important, you fail in the major. Now, how will you come back if you are drifting? Once you have identified that this is an assignment that I'm giving, you need to, from time to time, evaluate. Just ask yourself, am I on course in fulfilling what God has called me? And then if you think that no, you probably need to come back. For example, if you are called maybe as a minister of God's word, and then you start the ministry, but along the line, you develop an interest in a business.
Okay.
And then you begin to focus on the business and pay more attention to the business. You may end up losing that calling that God has given to you. So you need to understand exactly what your assignment or your calling is,
Okay.
and make sure that you focus on that.
Okay.
And then, like you also said, it is also sometimes very important for us to really focus so that you don't hold on to many things. At the end of the day, you are not successful in any of them. But like I said, if God really calls you into more than one, He will give you enough grace to be able to carry on. But for us, it is very important for you to know what exactly your calling is, and make sure you concentrate on that to fulfill it.
Okay. Pastor, you mentioned grace in this particular instance, but what if still God is giving you the grace, but then it's like other things are still pushing you?
Yeah.
Can that grace be transferred to another person?
Very, very, very common. Yes, one thing we need to know is that, God, everything about God is based on conditions.
Okay.
So you cannot say that, okay, because God have called me to this assignment, regardless of whatever that I do, it will remain no.
Okay.
When you don't follow what God tells you to do, you can take it away. And I'll give an example. In the Bible, when the children of Israel requested for a king, at that time, Saul was the most suitable.
Okay.
So God chose Saul to be the king,
the king.
and everybody was happy. Along the line, Saul departed from what God has called him to do. And God said that I had indeed planned that you and your descendants will be kings in Israel forever. But because you have disobeyed me, I've taken it away from you. And then it was transferred to David. So in everything that God does, if you depart from the grace or from the way God has called you to do, God will take it and give it to somebody. So that is why we need to be careful not to take this for granted at all. Because God have called me to this, regardless of whatever I do, I will still have it. I don't think it's that way.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, if you are just joining us, yes, you are still watching the PV show Moments of Truth. Okay, so now that we've identified what we've been called for, and we are ready to go the extra mile, we get people who say that, yes, I have a calling, but I don't have money to even go about it. I don't know where to start from. And other people even let go of their calling because the excuse is that I don't have money. When it comes to assignments on earth, is financial sustainability very important to accomplishing your purpose on earth?
Yes, I would say that it is very important.
Okay.
Because the Bible says that money answers all things. In that, for you to be able to get anything, you need money.
Okay.
And therefore, financial sustainability, because whatever that you need to do, you need some resources to support you in doing that.
Okay.
But we cannot say that money is everything. You may have the money, you may have the finances, but you can still fail, especially if you don't go the way God wants you to do. But it is very important that any assignment that you are given, you try to identify the resources that are needed to accomplish that assignment, and then try to find out the sources of funding. Where can I get money? And I believe that if God indeed have given you a calling, then He will definitely find a way of helping you or giving you resources to embark on that assignment.
Okay.
So what we need, especially as Christians, is to have faith and confidence in God. And then once you rely on Him, He will direct you how to go about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. But before we leave, we want to tackle keys. We want you to give us some keys to become successful in one's assignments on earth. What are some of the keys that is very important if one wants to become very, very successful in his or her assignments on earth?
Okay, thank you very much. So speaking from the Christian perspective, I would say that number one key is knowing God.
Okay.
I mean, your relationship with God is very, very important, because the Bible says that they that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And then Jesus Christ himself said that, but without me, you can do nothing. So that tells us that at least we must first of all have a relationship with God. Then, if you have that relationship with God, another key is depend on Him.
Okay.
I mean, you may have God, you may know God is there, but you don't just do anything.
Okay.
And I think that there are a lot of things that we could have done better if we have really recognized that if we ask God to guide us or to give us the grace, God will have so dependence on God, and that will involve you praying and then depend on God. But you also need to be disciplined,
Okay.
because everything that you do require discipline. Like Paul said that, he said that he's running a race, but he has put his body under subjection so that he'll be able to finish that course or to be able to run that race. So you need to be disciplined. You need to be determined,
Okay.
because sometimes in the pursuit of your assignment, challenges will come on the way. And if there is no determination or perseverance, you may end up giving up. And I also want to say that knowledge is key.
Yeah.
Try to have knowledge about what you are doing. Just try to understand what you are doing, and then pursue. These are some of the keys that I think you need to have. Know God, depend on Him, and then persevere or determine, and then have knowledge of whatever that you are doing.
Okay. All right. So before we leave, I have just one question. Would you say that poverty is actually preventing Christians from becoming what God really wants them to become? Or would you say that lack of finance is preventing Christians or believers from knowing their place in God's kingdom?
Okay. I would rather say that the lack of faith
Okay.
is what prevents us.
Okay.
Yes, money is very important. You need resources, and if you are poor, you are limited.
Okay.
But then poverty can be overcome if you have faith in God.
Okay.
I mean, if you have faith in God, I mean, God can always come to your support or come to help you. So any Christian who is not succeeding and say that because I don't have, I would rather say it's because you don't have faith in God. Because if you have faith in God, God can provide everything. God can do everything. God knows everything, and then it's reducing. So it is lack of faith
Okay.
that is the basis of our failure, rather than lack of money.
Okay. So what do we do as Christians in this scenario?
Yeah, so what I would say is that let's have faith in God.
Okay.
I mean, if you know that this is the assignment that God has given to me, just depend on Him. And then once you rely on Him, whatever resources that are needed, whether they are human resources, they are material resources, financial resources, God will find a way to provide for you. And we have instances in the Bible where prophets who were given assignment needed food. God used widows who had nothing to feed them. God used bears who have nothing to feed them. And if we believe that God is the same, He never changes. I mean, we have faith in Him. He can equally provide for us. Yeah, so we should not say that, oh, if I had gotten money, I would have done this thing. If you really believe that that's what God is calling you to do, exercise faith in God, and God will find people who will come and support you to do it.
Wow. If you believe this is what God called you for, He is going to help you to accomplish that particular purpose on earth. So, Pastor, before we leave, your final word.
Yeah, so I want to encourage everybody, especially Christians, that they need to discover whatever assignment that God have given to them, and then make sure that they work to accomplish it, because God is going to hold us accountable on the last day. And the 10 talents in the Bible, every one of them was given something. Some put the talent God gave to them to use, and then it was multiplied. There are some who also felt that, well, it wasn't enough and buried. At the end, God held them accountable. So what I would say is that no matter how little you think that you have been given to do, just be faithful and then be committed to that and do it, so that when you are called to give account to God, you will not be found wanting. Yeah, that is what I would say.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
We are really grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the PV Show, Moments of Truth. And we were blessed to be with Dr. Martin, who is also the pastor of Deeper Life Campus Church, UPSA. Thank you so much. If today is the first time you are joining us, please remember to click on the subscription button to subscribe to the PV Show. Until we come back your way same time next week, make sure you wash your hand with soap and running water, use your hand sanitizers, wear your nose mask, and stay safe. We'll be back with a different episode. Stay tuned.